The Middle East is not something that people over here in the United States and many other countries can fully understand. We can all agree to that. And I say that fully understanding as somebody who grew up in the 80s and saw all of the things that took place during that time with our president at the time, um, Bill Clinton, President Bush, and on, what they have done to the Middle East, not only with the Iraq War or with Afghanistan, but with many other troublesome things that they've partaked in order to destroy and disrupt everything going on over there. With the emergence of technology like the internet, we have ways around what our mainstream news tells us. We no longer have to sit and abide by the narrative that the mainstream news wants to tell us. You know, we have the internet, we can Google anything, we can research things for ourselves. Back then, you would have to wait for information to come out, or you would have to use an encyclopedia to find that information. It's amazing to me with just a tap on your keyboard what you can find about people, what you can locate about the people that live in the Middle East and why this fighting is taking place. So before I can go into my full thoughts on this situation and what I've researched and what I've found and what I've seen based on firsthand accounts of this whole war and battle between Palestine and Israel, I'm going to go back to this. So during Jesus's time, there was an area known as Judea, and it had a diverse population, as most countries do. You know, look at the United States. We don't look all the same. It's a melting pot. They had the Jews, which was the majority of the population of Judea. Jesus himself was a Jew. They were a significant role in the religious and cultural life of that region. And you guys know this from every single movie you've seen about the Middle East and Jews and Jesus, what that area was like. And if you're not a Bible thumper like myself, I don't read the Bible and go around preaching to people. I read for myself just to learn and educate myself. There was other people living there at the time as well, people known as the Samaritans. And who were the Samaritans? They were another religious and ethnic group who lived in the northern part of that region. They had their own version of the Torah, which is the Jewish Bible, and at the beginning books of the Bible. And they were a distinct community. Let's just put it that way. And we all know this from the Bible stories, the Good Samaritan, right? They were not the mainstream Jewish community. So they had kind of a strained relationship with the Jews. Then, who was running things at that time during Jesus's time? The Romans. So there were the Greeks and the Romans there, and due to the influence and occupation of the Roman Empire, there was a significant number of Greeks and Romans in the urban centers. They held lots of positions, of power. They held military positions. Think of all your military commanders and chiefs of police in modern day time, administrative people. Think of this guy that's right now in government, Blinken, Secretary Blinken. So they had a lot of high up positions and were a source of tension with the local population. There was a group of Phoenicians that were living there as well, along the area of the Tyre and Sidon. I don't know how they pronounce it. But they mostly engaged in trade and that sort of stuff. As you can see here, the seagoing traders of the ancient world, right? This is History Grade 5 book. I'm just showing you guys how much information is out there if you really wanted to educate yourself. Then there were the Herodians, which was the dynasty of the time led by, you guys know who? King Herod. You guys remember King Herod wanted all the babies to be killed because he thought that Jesus would grow up and then, overthrow him. King Herod was a crazy egomaniacal maniac, and the Bible does mention him, I believe. Like I said, I'm not a Bible thumper, but I know what I know. So there were also the Essenes, and if you don't know about them, there's a really good book by an author named Dolores Cannon who talks about Jesus and the Essenes and his time at Qumran, which was a school of knowledge. Think of these people as your scholarly people who were in the belief that education and enlightenment was more important than anything. They actually lived a very isolated lifestyle. They had communities, like I said, in Qumran, and may have even been the ones associated with the Dead Sea Scrolls. And then lastly, there were the Zealots. This was a radical Jewish group that vehemently opposed Roman rule. So they did not like Rome, and they made it very abundantly clear. They would actively do things to overthrow the Roman authority that was living in that region. So again, it's important to understand that the region was politically volatile and religiously diverse during this time, and that with all that tension and conflict between those various groups, including the Jewish people and the Roman authorities, it had a complex context there that played a pivotal role in the development of Christianity on a whole. And I don't want to go into too much detail about Christianity and how that, you guys can look that up for yourself. But what I'm trying to help you understand here is that this region, and this is very important to point out, was always diverse. It was not only Jewish people living in this region. So with that, we can get started on what I want to say. I think Americans in general have shown up. People have shown up to rallies. They've shown up to the internet, like myself, speaking on behalf of the Palestinian people that are being bombed to death. They have shown up. They have shown up saying that this has to end. But a lot of people are apathetic. You know, we're growing apathetic to these issues because we want to see an escape route. We want to see a way out of this. And a lot of the people that are in power don't seem to understand that these countries do not want to live in a two-state solution, which is what the United States has been pushing all along. There's too much salt in the wound. Think of a fight that's been ongoing forever. You cannot fix it by telling these people, okay, now behave, and you're going to live side by side, and we're going to give this community a lot more because we see them more as human and you less as human. Do you understand what I'm saying here? It's obscene to me that there's people like Greg Abbott, governor of Texas. Man is in a freaking wheelchair, but yet he comes forward to say he offers support to Israel. Try to understand, these people are just going along to get along. They're religious conformists. They're people that just do what they're supposed to do because it's what they've been told to do. And if you watch my video that I'm going to do on the Rothschild and how this Israel state was even formed in 1948, you will understand that they are taking orders from higher up, people we don't know, people that are in the shadows. So they have no real way out. And so it's up to us, the American people, because our president isn't going to do it. The man is 80 years old and thinking he could run for president again. And there's Benjamin Netanyahu, who's 74 years old and doing the same thing, not giving a crap about his people because he just wants to push forward whatever agenda he wants, which is to basically occupy the entire territory and push all of the Palestinians out. Make no mistakes, this war is not about I'm trying to get rid of Hamas, which is a radical group indeed, right? They're radical and extremists and terrorists. But try to understand, their terrorism stems from years and years and years of violence. These are probably children, teenagers that are running these groups, all right? Their parents have been killed, their grandparents. You don't think they're going to have hang-ups?